Hey guys, if this is your first time to my channel, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Emily and today I'm going to be taking you through my 5 favorite blinding to the gods highlighters. So these highlighters are going to be absolutely blinding and they are going to be really out there, really intense, not for the faint of heart. So if you are into a more subtle, more glow from within kind of highlight, this is probably not going to be your jam, but for me personally, I am very much so into very bright, very blinding, very out there highlighters. I like my highlighter to be basically a statement when it comes to my makeup. So let's go ahead and hop right on into my 5 most favorite. So this is probably gonna come as no surprise to anyone who watches my channel pretty frequently, but I have to mention it because this is my absolute favorite highlight in the entire universe. And that is a very bold statement, but it is a very true statement. This is a duochrome highlighter. So you basically have a more pinky base, and then when you turn your head to the side, you have a gold reflect. But the thing that makes this different than most highlighters that I've tried is not only the duochrome effect, but that it looks so smooth and buttery on the skin. I am wearing it today on my cheeks, but I have it layered with another highlighter, the next highlighter that I'm going to talk about. And for me, it's a little bit deep and a little bit too pink for my skin tone when I just wear it alone. But when I layer it with another Clionadh highlighter that's a little bit lighter, it really looks just perfect on the skin. I'm absolutely obsessed with this. I get a very long wear time with these highlighters. I find that they last all day and they don't fade at all. They go on very blinding, very strong, and they stay super strong throughout the day, as long as I set them with the setting spray like I do with every single highlighter in my collection. So I think these are so unique, especially for the shade and the type of highlighter that it is. I don't really see duochrome highlighters very often, and this one is absolutely beautiful. The Clionadh highlighters do not emphasize any texture on the skin. They look so smooth and they glide on. They kind of have a baked gelée formula, but it's a little bit more gel-like, if you will. When you stick your finger into the product itself, it's a little bit more smooth, a little bit more creamy, and it almost has a gel feel to it. And I find that when I pick this product up onto a brush, you do get a lot of pickup onto the brush, but once you put it onto your face, it is so incredibly smooth and it just glides on. I don't know how many times I can say that, but it truly does. And the color is just absolutely stunning. So that is why this guy is my number 1. And as you can see, I have a very big dip in the product, so I actually just ordered a backup from the website yesterday because I'm getting close to having a little baby pan happening on this highlighter. And how often is it that we hit pan on highlighters? So I'm pretty proud of that. My second favorite most blinding highlight is also from Clionadh Cosmetics, and this is in the shade Pucker. I have mentioned this on my channel as well a couple times, and for good reason. As you can see, the product itself has a little lemon design in the actual pan and in the product, and it goes all the way down throughout the entire product. I don't know how they do it. I would assume it's something they do in the layering process when they're actually filling the pan, but this little design goes throughout the entire product and I think it's so cute. It also smells like lemons, and I forgot to mention, but the first highlighter that I showed you guys, Poppin' Rocks, smells like candy, and this one smells like lemons. This shade is more so of a champagne gold, but it has a very, very strong yellow undertone, hence why it's called Pucker. It's supposed to look like a lemony highlight. And I find that it's not too deep on my skin tone, which is something that I was a little bit worried about when I first got it. Because of the yellow tone of the product itself, I was a little bit worried that it was going to be a little bit too deep, but this is actually pretty light. My favorite way to wear this is actually layered with Poppin' Rocks. So I'll put down a little base layer of Pucker, and then I will pop Poppin' Rocks right over the top of it, and I feel like I get the most beautiful, shiny, goldeny pink highlight effect ever. It is what I have on my cheeks today, and I wear it all the time. If you ever look in my description boxes of my videos, I always link what makeup I'm wearing, and more often than not, I'm probably wearing Pucker mixed with Poppin' Rocks from Clionadh. And same thing as Poppin' Rocks, this does not emphasize any texture. I get a really long wear time with it, and it just glides onto the skin and looks so smooth and pretty. I just love these. My third favorite blinding highlight that I own is this highlight from Lancome here, and it is in the shade Sparkling Peach. Now, it looks dirty and beaten to hell and back, and that is because I have used and abused this guy so much throughout the past year or so. I think I got this last summer, and when I first got this, I could not put it down. I also have a backup of this. And I know I am a crazy person, but as soon as I see the pan and the product start to kind of fade away and get some use and get kind of worn in, I get scared that I'm going to hit pan and then they're going to discontinue the product, or I'm not going to be able to buy it, or it's going to be sold out. I always think the worst whenever I start to see pan happening, which is very bad, but I do have a backup of this for when I hit pan. And as you can see, I have a giant dent in the product on the side over here, and I'm probably going to end up hitting some baby pan soon as well. Sparkling Peach is like a more peachy toned champagne, and it is the perfect tone for my complexion. So when I put this on, it's not nearly as blinding and bright as the Clionadh highlighters because the color of those are very different from my skin tone, so it stands out a little bit more. Whereas this highlight, when I put it on, you can definitely see a really pretty, beautiful sheen, but you don't notice it nearly as much because it is a little bit closer to my skin tone. It's very warm toned and very peachy, but it still has that strong champagne undertone to it, so when you turn your head, you get a really blinding effect. I find that the Lancome highlighters don't emphasize too much texture. They do just a little bit. It's not too bad though, and this definitely is a baked gelée formula. I do find that this works best when I spritz my brush down with some setting spray, but let's be honest here, I do that almost all the time when I'm using a highlighter. But I do find that when I put this just straight onto the cheeks, it can be a little bit powdery, but it is still very reflective, and it is my third most reached for highlight out of my entire collection. So moving right along here, I knew that you guys knew this was coming because if you are a frequent watcher of highlighter collection videos or best highlighter videos, then chances are you have probably seen this in those videos. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Amrezy highlighter. So there is a good reason why this highlighter is in a bunch of people's favorites videos and best highlighter videos, and that is because it is a pretty damn good highlighter. It is very, very shiny and metallic and reflective on the cheeks, and it gives a very foiled effect on the cheeks. I do find that it emphasizes a little bit more texture than, of course, the Clionadh highlighters that emphasize barely any, if any at all, texture, and the Lancome highlighter, which emphasizes just a little bit. I find this one emphasizes it just a little bit more, and you can see kind of some pores if you do have bigger pores and whatnot. But the color is so gorgeous. This is a true golden champagne tone. It is a kind of mid-toned champagne color, so it's not too light for my skin, but it's also not too deep. And I feel like this type of color and the undertone that it has will flatter a lot of different skin tones. Now, I remember when this first came out, I saw everyone posting this meme of this horse that had this coat that was the color essentially of this highlighter, and it had the caption saying, "What highlighter is this horse wearing?" And I guess that it had been a meme for a while. And someone responded and said the new Anastasia Beverly Hills and Amrezy highlighter, and I could not agree more. That horse looks exactly like this highlighter, and that is a compliment because that horse's hair was absolutely gorgeous, and everyone finally got the answer to what highlighter she was wearing. I did say I wasn't going to pick up this highlighter in a video because I knew I just didn't need it, but once I actually got my hands on it, I was very happy and I don't regret it at all. The price point isn't horrible for a highlighter. It's only $28 and you do get a decent amount of product, but the most important thing is how it looks on the skin, and the color is just so gorgeous. And I did compare it to some other champagnes in my collection and some more goldeny tones in my collection, and I just find that this one has the most foiled metallic effect out of all of them, and this one suits my skin the best. The undertone is just so warm, and this highlight is just perfection. And the last highlighter I am going to talk about today is the Give Me Glow highlighter in the shade Hallo. Now, this highlighter is the most new to my collection. I just picked this up a couple weeks ago, but I have had a couple weeks to try it and to determine if I like it or not. And because it is in this list, I'm sure you can guess, but I absolutely love this. Now, out of all the highlighters that I own, this one is probably the lightest in tone and probably the most shiny out of everything that I own in my collection. And for that reason, I do find myself layering this baby with other highlighters that I have in my collection to give it a little bit more shine, a little bit more oomph, and a little bit more drama, if you will. But I do find that wearing this on its own can be a little bit too light for my skin tone. As you can see, it's this beautiful white gold shade, but it has a bit of a kind of light blue duochrome to it. So it sounds kind of strange in theory, but it is so beautiful on the cheeks and on the inner corners and on the brow bone. And I didn't want to get this up first either because I figured I would just use this for an inner corner highlight and a brow bone highlight, and I do use it for those reasons. I have it on my inner corner today as well as my brow bone. But I find that when I layer this with some of the deeper highlighters that I have in my collection, it really helps to brighten them up. You can definitely still see the white gold with the sort of blue hint to it peeking through. I do own quite a bit of highlighters that are a little bit too deep for my complexion because last summer, for some reason, I was super tan and I held onto that tan for a very long time. But this summer, I'm getting pretty pale. I'm bordering on pasty ghost. So I find that a lot of the highlighters that I bought last year I can't really use, or I have to mix with another highlighter, but then it just gets too chunky on the skin and emphasizes too much texture. So when I layer it with this guy, it lightens it up just enough, shows just enough of the color from this highlight, and it doesn't emphasize too much texture. This highlight accentuates pores and texture just a little bit, but nothing too bad. None of the highlighters that I touched on today emphasize too much texture at all. They might just emphasize just a little bit, but chances are if you're going for a very foiled, very blinding, very in your face highlight, you are gonna get a little bit of emphasized texture, but nothing too crazy with these highlighters. The price point on the Give Me Glow highlighters are really good as well, and they have so many shades for so many different skin tones. I have had my eyeballs on the shade Porcelain Peach for a very long time. It is this beautiful peachy champagne shade that looks pretty light as well, so I feel like it would go good with my skin tone. So I'm probably going to be picking that up in the near future. But until then, I have Hallo to tide me over, and I really do enjoy this color. I also think that it's a very unique type of highlighter because of that subtle blue undertone that you get along with the white gold. But with that being said, that is going to be wrapping up today's video. I would absolutely love to know your guys' top 5 favorite blending highlighters in the comments below, because I am always looking for a good new highlighter. Even though I try to not buy them and I try to convince myself out of buying them, I am just obsessed with them, just like we all are here in the makeup community. We all have this crazy highlighter obsession that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But for me, it makes me really happy to have the highlighters that I own, and I know that I use all of them and get pretty good use out of all of them as well. With that, I do hope that you consider subscribing if you have not already. I have all sorts of makeup goodness happening here on this channel, and I put up multiple videos every single week. So if you have not already subscribed and you would like to be, I would love to see you hit that button down below. I hope you are having an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye!